Welcome to Shooting the Shit. My name is Betty Reed. I will be your host today, and my guest today is Evan Redwine.
Let's get it.
Yes. So excited to have you on the podcast today. Why don't you tell everyone what you do?
Yeah, I'm a producer, engineer, mixer, and guitar player here in Nashville.
Yes. That sums it up great.
Yeah.
Okay. So what's your favorite to do out of all of those things?
The revealing question right up front. Honestly, my favorite is just to play guitar.
Yeah.
I came here to play guitar. I came to school here, and I was in a guitar program at Belmont, and I actually hurt my arm, like overuse playing injury.
Oh, wow.
My first year there, and I had to stop playing for a while, and that's when I found audio, and I really fell in love with that. But and I had a lot of opportunities come there. And I've kind of kept the guitar playing piece quiet. I do guitar gigs and sessions occasionally, but I've been telling my fiance the past couple months, I feel like I've been hiding half of myself from the industry I work in. And, people who have done records with me know that I love playing guitar and that I'm skilled at it. But I've been telling her, it's just time to rip the cover off of that and see what happens. Because that's when I feel most alive.
Is it like gigging? Like that's what you kind of want to do more of with the guitar, or like playing on studio, like studio
playing
sesh?
on records.
Okay.
Yeah. Gigging is fun when it's with the right crew. I mean, playing live music with people, that's like how we all fell in love with it, or how so many of us fell in love with it. I definitely don't want to be on the road. I've done a little bit of road work as a guitarist, just some long weekend runs. I really do think my dream would be to produce records and play guitar on them as often as is fitting, which is a lot of what I do, but also be hired for guitar sessions when needed, be hired to mix when needed. I'm kind of trying not to put too much pressure on anything right now and just be my real self and see what happens.
Yeah.
I think I've been afraid to tell people how much I love playing guitar and how much I'd like to do more of it, because they'll see me as unfocused as an engineer or something.
Mm.
And lately it's been more like, you know what? I'm just not being my authentic self.
Yeah.
And I'm skilled at all of them, and I just need to, with humility, own that.
Yeah.
And stop downplaying things.
Taking one doesn't mean that you're better or worse at the other. It doesn't really, I don't think, for me, I wouldn't think it took focus away, at least if you're good at both, right? Or if you're good at all of what you do, then it's just adding on to it.
Yeah.
I know that you did guitar for my songs, my songs, and it's like the most amazing track. The guitar stands out so well. I mean, it's clean, it's cut the way you did it, and it kind of made it a lot easier. I like when the engineer, the producer have more skills to be like, hey, you want to kind of throw this in here, see what happens. And if you don't like it, you don't like it. But if you love it, holy crap, yes.
Yes.
And because you had that skill, we were able to put that in and be like, this was amazing. The riff on one of the songs that I haven't released yet is one of my favorites.
Oh, thanks.
It's absolutely killer. So it's cool that you're able to do that. I think it just adds on to your professionalism and adds on to your skill set, your repertoire.
You were very gracious. Thanks for the kind words, but you also let me shred on a song. So, you're automatically one of my favorite clients. anyone who gives me space to do that, keeps a very fond place in my heart.
I love when the band has fun. And I was telling you this before. I think that when you perform with a band or even just studio and the band is having fun, it comes through so well in the song, and it comes through, it just makes the energy in the room even more vibrant, even more you're enjoying it. So then everyone who's listening to it is going to enjoy it as well.
Yes.
Bringing in songs where you're like, I really think that the drummer or the guitarist or the bassist are going to have a lot of fun with it. It just, it adds an energy to it where you're like, yes.
Yes.
So
Absolutely.
Fun.
And I think you and I shared a lot of we shared love for a lot of the same era of rock, early 2000s, 90s. And I feel like we had a lot of fun making your songs together, because so much of that was in my hands, and you were like, oh my gosh, yes, give me more. And then we just fed off each other's energy, and it was pretty great.
Yeah. I know. I feel like our generation, right? We grew up with our parents' music, which was very 70s, 80s rock, which was some of the best rock music, I feel like. When you get like Rolling Stones, Pink Floyd, The Who, you really just get those band rock and roll, big energy music. So fun, so well done live, right?
Yeah.
And then we take our music, so like Avril Lavigne, oh wow, now I'm blanking. Fall Out Boy, I'm gonna like only think about like Good Charlotte and
Sure.
Simple Plan and all those kind of but there's more. I mean, we had a
So
lot.
many more.
We
Countless.
had those are like more in the pop rock I feel like style, but we had so many other like Papa Roach, Red Jumpsuit Apparatus, just some great. I love the genres that mix, right? So like the rock with the pop, the rock with the screamo, the rock with the like. I just
Paramore.
Oh
gosh,
it's fantastic.
The Riot album never gets old.
Yeah. So it's nice to like grab from those, right? And be like, all right, this is kind of, and I think we have to do that a lot, right? So as a artist, the producer says, what are you looking for the song to sound like? And so you have to bring in your inspirations, I want it to kind of sound like this, but in my own way, right? So to bring those in and then have you see that visual or hear it, see it, and be like, I know what you want and I know how to make it you.
Yeah.
That's glorious.
Yeah, that's the goal.
Do you ever have situations where an artist comes in and it's kind of more hard to figure out what they're like, they don't really have a vision of what they're kind of going for?
I wouldn't say I have many, if any, experiences with artists that don't have a vision. I feel like being an artist, they have it and they know it. Maybe there are times where it's difficult for them to communicate it, or it's difficult for me to understand it. Maybe we just have different communication styles, and it takes time to figure out what they're saying. But I don't know if there's a lack of vision, but I do think there can be difficulties in communication, and there can definitely be, and this is not a bad thing, this is not a criticism, but in general, artists can be really hard on themselves, and there can be sometimes when producing an artist, it feels like there's a moving target. Like we'll get somewhere and so much, and if maybe we'll get into this later, so much of this is not only normal but good, but it can be we kind of get a song close to being done, and it's like, oh wait, and we'll kind of like the artist will not like where we've landed, so we'll rework it, and that could happen 2, 3, 4 times. So I don't know if there's necessarily a lack of vision as much as there is some second guessing, and I think second guessing is putting it negatively. I think just reviewing and sitting with things and seeing what comes out and taking time to just soak in it and make sure it's the right thing and revisit if it's not, which is just part of the creative process.
Right.
So maybe that can seem like there's a lack of vision sometimes. I don't think that means there's a lack of vision. I think it's just, it can be a winding road to get there. There's always the vision, but it's a winding road to get there, and me and the artist have to learn how to communicate with each other.
Yeah.
And be patient. Just be like, songs require patience.
Right. Or sometimes it's kind of what you envision, but it's not quite there, or you're like, okay, this is what I envisioned, but maybe there's something else that works better.
Yes.
Because that could definitely happen.
If there's one thing, well, there's probably more than one thing. One thing I can think of that I wish I would have been able to do differently from the beginning, But also I couldn't have. I have a lot of grace for myself, especially considering, like, I'm thinking of myself 10, 12, 14 years ago starting to do this. I wish I would have had a little more of a vision and patience and willingness to make songs for artists, like go the distance with the artist and make sure every song was exactly what they wanted, regardless of what I was getting paid.
Hmm.
And it's hard because, especially when you're starting out, like, we're not getting paid much. And I had to learn, both just in contracts and agreements to kind of specify my rate. If it takes X amount of time, maybe there's an additional, hourly charge. And eventually where I've landed is like, I just charge a flat fee that honors my time, that makes me feel good enough to put any amount of time into it.
Mm-hmm.
That's the goal. And that's where I've been able to land more and more. Because it's as a human, I think it's really valid to be like, oh, I was expecting to spend X amount of time on this. Now it's taken 150% of that amount of time I expected, or 200 or 300, like 2 or 3 times as much.
Yeah.
And you want it to be great, but it's also very difficult because you're like, I'm trying to make a living. And especially when I was younger, I didn't know how to communicate with the artist back and forth expectations up front and get them in writing, right? I think when I was younger, I was afraid to kind of bring in the contracts and the business end of it, afraid it would kind of kill the friendly, creative vibes. In my experience, the more you can clarify in writing in the form of a contract, it actually helps the friendship and the relationship aspect because there's not weird vibes. You're preventing weird vibes from happening down the road. But I'll just say it can be very difficult as a producer. It was difficult for me as I was younger, and still difficult, but I'm changing this a lot, is just the reward of going the distance and letting, even though you have to make a living, doing everything you can to make that secondary.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, I mean, I think there are very few people that would be like, hey, if I said to an artist, hey, I really want to make this what you want it, but it's going to take a little more time. Would you be willing to give me a couple more weeks before I hop back into it because this other thing that was on the calendar, or, just have a conversation as a human. I think so many people would be reasonable and be like, yeah. So I wish I could have done that differently. And I'm thinking of a few records in my head where I think my relationship with artists today would be better, and the music would have been even better had I been able to be like, you know what, this is not what I expected. But man, if we go the distance, this artist and I are both going to be so much more thrilled.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just to take a little bit more time with it.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I always, if not almost always, went the distance, but I might have kind of shown some of my frustration with it along the path, and I wish I could have had the contentment to not show that frustration along the way.
Yeah.
To just kind of provide a safer space for the artist. Yeah.
And those things are, I feel like, learning experiences, especially when we're young, especially when we're starting, right?
Oh, yeah.
And I think that's why I also really want to make this podcast, was to help people who are starting to be like, you're not alone in this. This is you are walking through the dark. Yeah. You're walking through the dark with your eyes closed, and there is information out there that you can get. But it's not always easy to absorb unless you do it, make the mistake, and be like, okay, now I get it. Now I see what I did wrong. Or now I see, what could have gone better.
Yes.
And that's just, I feel like that's kind of just the reality of life, right, itself. But if you can at least have just that little speck of information or something from other people where you're like, you're not as blind through making your way to what you're trying to do, the nicer it will be to not have, any regrets, at least.
Yeah.
And or just I wish I could have. Yeah. And we're always going to kind of, I guess, always have that, because again, that's what we learn from. But it's just nice, I think, to have any type of information or just a way to make that less or make it go faster so that you have more of that knowledge and everything on the other side to when you do something that you're so excited about, it comes out just the way you want it to come out. And relationships and everything, nothing has to get spoiled by a bad experience.
Absolutely.
So the space we're in right now is your space.
Yeah.
So thank you for having us here. So I just call it the barn. What do you actually call it?
I call it the wine box.
Oh,
Since
I
my
love
last
that.
name's Redwine, and it's, if you see it from outside, it's a glorious box. I don't remember how that name came about specifically. I don't think I was
Fantastic.
I don't think I was the first one to call it that. I think someone called it that or said I should call it that, and I was a little reluctant at first, but somehow it stuck. Like some people kept saying it, and I was like, and now I love it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's kind of how nicknames, I feel like, really come about and stick. The
Yeah.
good ones, at least.
Yeah, it was inevitable. I couldn't say no to it.
Yeah. It's not something, you can't give yourself a nickname, right? Somebody has to give it to
Yeah,
you. So
yes.
like somebody gave this space the perfect nickname. I love the wine box.
Yeah.
So I think that's great. How did you construct this? Did you have someone come in or you did it yourself?
My
right?
dad and I,
Okay.
my dad and I built it, just the two of us. Mostly my dad. If I can just like give a shout out to my dad for a minute, Ron Redwine, man. So we bought the house in front of the studio, the property. We bought that in, it would be February 2013. And then a month later in March, we started building. I was an assistant engineer at that time, and I just had like a crazy work schedule, tons of hours, often working on the weekends, but it was also sporadic and unpredictable. So, but he drove up basically every other weekend for a year to build this with me. And it took us about, we started March 2013, ended March 2014. But I remember, especially in the first couple months when we were digging the footings and laying the foundation, he'd come up a lot of Saturdays, and then I wouldn't know, like, do I have to work? Do I know? And then some stuff would come in for my boss that I had to prep, some songs I'd have to prep for him to mix. I mean, there were a lot of Saturdays my dad was out here doing a lot of this by himself.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, he loves me a lot.
Yeah.
But it made it very affordable, and he's worked in construction his whole life, so we had good sources for affordable supplies, and building it over the course of a year, multiple Home Depot runs, it wasn't like a boom, like huge cost at the outset. It was just kind of gradual over the course of a year. But yeah, my dad and I built it all together. We had an acoustician named Gary Hedden, who's built studios for a long time, come in and just give me a consultation on how to treat the room. And he sent me digital renderings of how he wanted me to treat it and some tips for how to construct the panels and especially these corner bass traps. But with the digital renderings and instructions, my dad and I actually built and installed all the acoustic treatment too.
Wow.
So I got a pro design, but my dad and I put
everything
together.
in. Yeah. Wow.
Yeah, and it's turned out really well. I love the way it sounds in here.
It's amazing. Yeah, it's such a cool vibe, but also just like, yeah, sounds great in here.
Yes.
And you have like the little kind of outside booth part. I know we can't like actually see it or anything, but where you do like the vocals and stuff and things like that, and everything kind of just wires straight into here. So yeah, it's very cool setup. Very cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you ever feel like maybe in the future you want to like redesign it at all, or you're just like super content with?
I'm very content. I don't think I would redesign it. I wonder. Yeah, I do wonder if the only thing I might do is bring in an acoustician again. Acoustician?
Could not tell you.
Bring in a studio builder, room designer again, and I've done a couple rounds of it. I did stuff with Gary. I did stuff with a guy named Dylan Seals, who kind of maybe in 2017, 2018, fine-tuned a few acoustic things with me, and it was like treating the room all over again. All the treatment was here, but we just added a few key panels. We added a cloud, and things like that, and covered up some key reflection points, put some cabinet liner on my desk to cut reflections from the desk, little things like that added up to making the picture twice as clear as it was. But I could see myself bringing in somebody like that once more, just to see if acoustically, what could we do to make this room even more dialed. It's a great mix room. It's the only thing that still gets me sometimes is the low end, which is, for so many people, that's the thing. And, I still go and listen to mixes in my car as a second perspective on the low end. And sometimes I feel shame about that. I know a lot of people do it, but I would really love to have a room where I just know, like I can check against a reference in here and just trust, everything below 80 hertz completely. So I might do things to hone that in a little more in the future, but as far as this space goes, I am really happy with it. And I've been making a living mixing in here for years. It's not holding me back. I know how to use the room to my advantage. And one day I wouldn't mind, say, having a different studio,
Okay.
like my own tracking space to produce records. I do feel like even in Nashville, there are not a ton of rooms where drums sound great in. There are not a ton of great drum rooms where you can put up some room mics and have like a big rock record. I'm thinking like, all the Rage Against the Machine records we love. Like there's only 2 or 3 rooms in town that kind of get there. So I would love to have a space where, if cost or no option, we just make as great of a drum room that has ever been made.
That'd be cool.
And with, separate ISO spaces for like piano and a couple more for acoustics and vocals, another one for an amp. So, we could just track, a full live band with like 2 guitars, a keys player, a vocalist, maybe an acoustic, who doesn't want that?
Yeah.
So dreaming out loud.
That's my favorite.
Yeah.
I love a full band.
Yes.
Full band moments.
It's just immediate. That's one of those things that like made us fall in love with music growing up. If for anyone who started playing in a band in high school, like, you're learning covers in a basement, and when you do that take and you nail it and you're just in the room together, that's what we're all chasing.
Yeah, absolutely. And you mentioned Ari. So Ari is my sound engineer. I haven't really got to introduce him during actually any of the other episodes. I know. He's been absolutely fantastic. I appreciate him joining me and being my team. It's basically me and him are the team here. I loved when you guys started just like talking about like things that I have no idea what you guys are talking about, setting up like all the sound stuff and almost just like keying like two schoolgirls that like just figured out that they both have the same hobby and just like absolutely nerding out about it. That's my favorite. I feel like it's like when you introduce 2 of your friends that would be really good friends, and then they're just getting along and you're sitting there and you're just like, yes, I see a friendship forming.
It's fun times.
They have a lot in common. Like, it's just like so fun. But yes, Ari has been absolutely fantastic. And so just want to give you a little shout out on this one for sure. I definitely should. So it's been really nice getting to work with Ari here and to get to do this. This has been so fun. I can't wait for more episodes. I can't wait to release more episodes. It's going to be great. And I'm excited for this one too. So like, I'm basically like getting all different parts of the industry to chat. And there's so many parts, and being a producer is one of the biggest parts of the industry, but you don't only do producing, right? So you do guitar, but, you also do, you would say engineering. So engineering, and then you do mixing and mastering as well, right?
So I don't do mastering.
Okay.
But I definitely do mixing. Yeah, and to caveat what I was saying earlier about guitar, like I think I'd be kind of sad if guitar was the only thing I was doing. I think there is a sense in which I've fallen in love with the variety.
Yeah.
And just the craft of making music and making records.
Yeah.
And there's, I'm playing guitar on a session that a producer's hired me for, or I'm playing guitar on something I'm producing, there's such a reward to that. But also, say if I'm mixing a song that I've never heard before, I didn't produce it or engineer it at all, someone just sent me something to mix, and seeing it come to life through mixing is such a rewarding process.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I do get hired quite often just to be a tracking engineer on sessions, which I love doing. And I'm doing more and more of that. I love getting hired to just mix. I'm pretty social. I love being around people. Mixing can be a little bit of a head game because I'm by myself, and you can spend a whole day mixing a song, and every 30 seconds you're wondering, are they going to like this? Are they going to like this?
Yeah.
And one thing I've done as a mixer that I think a lot of guys do this, but I want to do it as much as I can. And I have never had a bad experience with this. I've only ever had positive experiences. Is just to invite artists and or producers into the room as I'm mixing,
Okay.
just to attend the session and give me feedback as I'm mixing, because usually when that happens, we get a much better mix that they're much happier with, and it gets way more creative because I can be bold enough because they're here to be like, to try something that I wouldn't normally try that feels, hey, what do you think of this?
Yeah.
I immediately know if they like it or not. They appreciate that initiative.
Yeah.
And then that snowballs on itself. And by the end of the day, you have something you're both really excited about. So, and being a social, gregarious guy, an extrovert, it's just nice to have people join me as I'm doing that. So, mixing, I would say historically, is more often than not, not always, but more often than not, like a solitary thing.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to change that as much as I can.
That's cool. I like that. Especially because I feel like most musicians are also we're introverts, right?
Yes. Yeah.
So, and we try our best to be outroverts, or, oh my God, that's not even
Outroverts,
a word.
yeah.
Outroverts, yes.
Introverts, outroverts. You know, it makes just as much sense as extroverts.
I think so. Yeah. It's the opposite, right?
Let that be a coin term for your podcast.
Oh my God. Just making up words. That's what I do. That's my brain. And umming. Umming is a big thing I love to do, apparently. I think it's better than saying like all the time, I guess.
Sure.
But a lot of ums, which, I can edit out.
Has doing a podcast made you very aware?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah. I've thought about it a couple times today.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. There's actually... See, now I'm going to be even more aware of it. There's actually systems where you put in the audio and you tell it, like it's like the AI thing, you tell it to take out all like those extra little things, including you can put in specifically ums, and it will take it out of the audio.
Yeah.
Like all of them or some of them.
And I think this is exactly what you're saying. I haven't used it personally, but I've heard of a software, and maybe Ari knows more about it, where it gives you the text of the audio and you edit the text as if it's a Word document, and then it changes that in the audio.
I think somebody told me about that, and I was like, that's really cool. It might be the same thing. Yeah. I know I wrote it down somewhere. I had a meeting with this girl who was giving me tips on making the podcast. And, which I really needed. And that was fantastic. I was like, yeah, I could definitely use something like that, because I say so much. And, I have to, when editing, listening back to the podcast over and over and over again. And I'm just continuing hearing it. And I'm just like, I want to strangle myself. No, it's fine. It's a human thing. I think everyone has either like an or a like or a whatever it may be. There it is. Oh, yeah. Yeah, for sure. And I think you get better with it in time once you're aware of it and you're specifically doing something like a podcast or doing talking or speeches and things like that. The more you do it, the more you're aware of it, the better you get at not doing it.
Yeah.
Yeah. God damn it. Okay, so what is can you talk about like one of your most recent projects that you've been working on, or have anything coming up that you're like super excited about that?
Yes. So I just mixed a couple songs for an artist named Jordy Cersei, and I love this artist. He's also a very good friend. I was one of his groomsmen, and he's going to be one of mine.
Aww.
But man, he is so talented, and I mixed a few songs off his first record, and then I didn't mix anything for a couple records, and now he's working on a new record, and I believe I've mixed 3 songs on it out of 4 or 5 or 6. that they're going to be the total project. I don't know exactly how many are going to be on the total record right now, but yeah, I mixed 3 songs on this record, and indie pop, like pop, but not, completely radio-esque. It's very much his own thing, and it's beautiful. He's an incredible songwriter, incredible vocalist, and rips it on guitar. Like, his talent is out of this world. But I was really excited to get the chance to mix for him again. And yeah, I've mixed 3 songs for this new record. One of them is already out. It's called The End of Us.
Yeah.
And I'm really proud of that mix. And then I've mixed 2 more that I'm just really stoked for people to hear, because I feel like it's a level up for my mixing. In terms of my mixing, and just in terms of like caliber of artists and the caliber of the producers that are working on it. I mean, we're all growing older and upping our games, and to be involved in that was a real honor, and I really can't wait for people to hear those songs.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
That sounds great. I'm definitely going to go check those out.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's very cool. Actually, want to kind of touch on what you said about the older we get, like almost like the more wisdom we have, the better we're becoming at our craft.
Well, some days I feel that way. Some days I don't. Maybe you caught me on a good day today.
But I feel like that's true though. And
it is. Yeah.
I think that we're starting to get past the whole, well, you turn 30, so if you haven't done, made it by now, like you're washed up, you're done, like whatever. Like I think we're finally kind of, hopefully, not fully. I mean, there's definitely people out there and that still think, it's a young person's game, but I think more people are learning, and I think we're more getting to the point where we realize that's not fully true. I mean, yes, there's definitely peaks of, I feel like, in younger 20s and things like that, where that's a great time if things, shoot off for you. But just because you turn 30 or 35 or 40 does not mean that it's over. And if anything, you've become smarter. You've become, more refined at your craft. You've made so many great, like, friends and like networks and things like that, that everything kind of starts to click more, and that age is nothing to do with when you really break off into your best stuff.
Yeah.
Do you ever feel like you're kind of glad where you're at now compared to like you wanted it to be more towards like when you were younger? That makes sense?
It does make sense. Am I thankful that I'm at where I'm at now, as opposed to where I thought I might be now when I was younger?
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know where I thought I would be when I was younger. I think I'm really hard on myself. I have a very loud inner critic.
Mm.
And there have been times the past couple years where that voice has been quieter, and I've been able to see, like, wow, my high school self would be blown, like, think I'm the coolest guy. But most days, I don't think that about myself. But I will say, in my 20s, I really just wanted to be impressive and make a name for myself and be the best engineer, the best mixer, the best guitar player, and just want everybody want me so that I could feel valuable as a human. But I couldn't see it. And honestly, now I just want to be happy.
Yeah.
I just want to have peace. And I would much rather make enough money and be happy and have boundaries around my work and have my evenings with my wife and my family, or my soon-to-be wife and my family. I would much rather have enjoyment at work while making music, an adequate amount of money to take care of myself and plan for a future, and never say, get to work with Coldplay or,
Yeah.
all these bands that I dream about, right? If I'm working with indie artists or, artists on smaller labels, like if I never get to mix an Ariana Grande record, but I'm happy, like I would take that any day.
Yeah.
I'm not going to name any mixers because I don't know their stories, but like I could name the most famous mixer in the world. There's like 1% of 1% of the population knows who they are.
Yeah.
Right.
Knows who they are. Oh, absolutely. Especially mixers, producers, like other than the people that really look up their names on the songs, nobody really, even songwriters, like there's so many incredible songwriters that you have no idea make the song that you have listened to over gajillion times.
Yeah. And you could slice it a million ways. I don't want to criticize people who are working very hard in this industry and are very happy and loving it.
Yeah.
But I do think as a mixer, there's mixers I look up to, and so many of us work so hard to get to the top, and more power to you. And at the same time, like, I mean, if I was gonna to me, if I were gonna like sacrifice other parts of my life to get to the top, I'd at least hope I would do it in an industry where like more people would know who I am.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like, oh wow. Maybe another way, a kinder way of saying that is maybe the past few years I've gotten a little bit of a vision of the reality of chasing performance-based value where I'm at. Like it just doesn't seem worth it. And that extends to any industry I could work in, but I just want balance and peace and happiness. And yeah, I want to work hard. I love working hard. And there are times and places to where like to be flexible with, say, boundaries around my work hours for sure. But, man, I love making music. If I can love making music and be provided for, let the recognition come or go.
Yeah.
That's who I'm trying to be. That's how I'm trying to live. That's how I'm trying to do this career now.
Yeah.
One day at a time.
Yeah.
But I want to ask you, just where you're at today, what do you want from music today?
I think for me, it's a wonderful question. I love when you guys ask me questions on the podcast. I want to find my audience. I want to have the people that relate to what I create feel what I feel, and something relatable. I do think that I want to tour. I'd like to have, it's kind of like a bucket list item for me. That would be really just something I think I would regret not doing, like not taking that plunge. But now I'm thinking it more of like that, and I just want to continue releasing music. I just love writing. I love singing. But I think for me right now, it would be finding that audience. That's really what I'm looking for in the next this coming year.
Yeah.
So I'm releasing these 2 songs, and I have other all my other songs that I have released and things like that, and finding the people that just connect with it.
Yeah.
Go straight for it and see what happens. And if nothing happens, I'm not going to be hard on myself. I'm working on that, right? Not beating myself up about it, but I will totally regret it if I don't try.
Yeah.
And let things like, I'm having some health struggles and stuff like that. So I don't want any of that to hold me back. So I'm just going to keep, trucking through it. If it takes me back a couple days or a couple weeks, then so be it. I kind of want to throw my full self into it. Yeah, I like that question.
It sounds to me like what I hear you saying, and I say this to like honor you because I think it's really beautiful. What I hear you saying underneath what you just said is like you want to connect with other people. Like you want to share who you are and parts of your story with them and say like, I can relate to this.
Yeah.
Right? And like, because that's what we all want at the end of the day, is to be like known for who we really are and seen by other people. And to give someone the gift of a song or music that can meet them where they're at and make them feel seen and encouraged there is like, that's, what more can you ask for?
Yeah.
And that's what I hear you saying.
Yeah.
So
That's what I like,
keep
that
doing that.
make you feel seen. Like I think that's the big thing for me. I want other people that feel the way I feel. I want them to know that they are seen and they are not alone.
Yeah.
That's I think one of the biggest things for me. When I get to connect with people through my music and someone is like, I relate to that, or, you know, I've felt that before, you know, things like that. Like that's huge for me. That just makes everything I do, like, yes, this is it. It gives you that what's that feeling of? What's the word I'm looking for?
Fulfillment?
No.
Okay.
Like I've done what I wanted to do. Like I've achieved that goal that I was going for.
Yeah.
Kind of like, oh, this brain fog. It'll come to me at the most random time, I'm sure.
Hey, we're not
Always,
English
guys.
majors, are we?
Oh,
Maybe you are. I don't know.
I'm definitely not. I love writing, but my dyslexia makes it makes it unique, which I think also is super helpful when I'm writing songs, and like it's uniquely me because my brain works a little differently with my dyslexia, so I kind of like love that. But then also like I struggle with coming up with a word that like it's right there, it's at the tip of my tongue, or you know, whatever.
Yeah.
Dyslexia comes out in all sorts of forms. So, and I think a lot of people who have dyslexia can relate to those, to that struggle. But I would never change being dyslexic for the world, because it's literally what makes my brain so different. It's what makes me different and unique. Like rock pop is definitely my bread and butter, but I love doing like pop, even pop electronic. Like I will go everywhere. I'm like I'm such a dipper into all of the genres. So what is your favorite genre to dip into when you produce? Like what's your bread and butter, but what is it to, like, if somebody brings you this and you're like, oh yeah, now I'm excited.
I think they're the what I'm excited about and what my bread and butter is are the same thing.
Okay.
I do. And it's kind of a tie. Like, my first gut instinct is just rock. You know, I didn't get into audio until my senior year of college. I grew up as a guitar player. I just grew up playing rock and a lot of blues too. But like, man, rock is just what I fell in love with. And yeah, and that's what I love mixing. Like whenever anyone sends me rock stuff to mix and just wants, again, like really big drums, it's just the funnest thing in the world for me. And I love producing it, and I don't get a chance to produce it as often as I'd like. But when I do, I think the skills I get in all the genres, just building my skills as an engineer and producer in general, I bring so much passion to that song or that project that it turns out really well. And I think in general too, like alongside that, folk Americana, I just love great songwriting and great storytelling, and some of the most like heart-wrenching or relatable and beautiful lyrics for me. I mean, they come in so many genres, but I'm thinking like Ray LaMontagne, like Amos Lee, when those songs that just rip your heart out. There's a album, I believe it came out in 2012, an album called Voyager by Kathleen Edwards. Just songs that are real instruments, folky, rather acoustic, and just tell a story you can't let go. I would say, so rock and folk, or like think of like even sonically, the Robert Plant and Alison Krauss record, Raising Sand, like songs and sounds like that. Anywhere from that to rock. I love Ray LaMontagne as an artist. I just mentioned him. I love the way so many of his albums sound sonically. His album Till the Sun Turns Black is just one of the best sounding albums I've ever heard. And the songwriting, lyrically, musically, it's like 2 or 3 acoustics and him. It's basically like an acoustic guitar, a classical guitar, and him. But their use of reverb and just not filling the space. So yeah, anything folk Americana, earthy, organic tones, which rock is part of that. I love real instruments. I'm not a programmer. Same. I've never produced like a true pop track in my life. So I feel like I just started dreaming out loud. So I think I answered your question.
Yeah, no, that was great. Yeah. Those are. Have you ever produced a pop album or song?
Maybe I've tried a couple times. Short answer, no. Because if there were some things I did, it was a long time ago, and I've probably grown a lot since then. So I'm not going to mention them because I don't know if I want people to hear it. Like I'd have to sit and think longer to even answer that.
You have people dig for that.
Yeah. There's something I'm really proud of. There's this artist. His name is Freddie Lyle. We got connected because I produced a couple projects for his daughter, and he really loved what I did, and he was basically like, "Hey, I've been writing songs my whole life, but I've never really put things out." I mean, he's retiring. He lives up in, I believe he lives in Omaha. I've produced everything remotely. I've seen him on video because he'll send me iPhone videos of him playing his songs acoustically so I can have a demo to build off of.
Yeah.
Very kind soul, treats me so well, trusts me a lot as a producer. We have a lot of fun. Some of the stuff I've produced for him, it's very 60s, 70s inspired. He loves Bob Dylan. He loves Dire Straits.
Nice.
He loves Tom Petty, Bruce Springsteen. I mean, go on and on.
Right.
And that's, that 60s, 70s rock is what I really grew up with and playing as a guitar player. And again, he loves to let me rip it as a guitar player. But some of the songs that I've produced for him, I am so proud of. He has given me so much freedom, and I listen to those songs, and I really love what I was able to do as a producer and engineer and a guitar player. A few tracks, if anyone wants to listen. Love Blind, it's just rock.
Okay.
Driftwood Man. I would say listen to Love Blind and Driftwood Man, and then His or Mine.
Okay.
Those three tracks, I'm so proud of everything I've done with him, but those are the three that come to mind as I'm so stoked about. And we're doing 4 more songs this year. He sent me demos for 2 today, and he's going to send me demos for 2 more in the spring or summer. But yeah, Freddie Lyle.
Definitely take a listen to that for sure.
He is living his best life now. Like he goes to a studio up there to do his vocals, and he'll send me the vocals once I've got the track produced. And he commits to his takes. He sings his heart out. It's really rewarding to be working with him and helping him like realize his vision, even as someone I believe he's in his 60s, maybe even his 70s, and to see him pursue the joy of music so boldly is really inspiring to me.
So is there any other work or anything that you also want to just give a shout out or talk about or before we start to wrap up a little bit?
Yes. I feel like there's probably a handful, and I'm afraid I'm going to forget a few people who really deserve to be heard. But the one that comes to mind is my friend Ellie Turner. I produced 6 songs for her a few years ago. They came out on 2 different 3-song EPs. Man, as a writer and a vocalist and just like an experimental visionary, she is so good. She is so good. And, it's just tragic to me that more people have not heard her stuff. I would say our musical relationship was the ideal in the sense that she trusted me a lot and valued my ideas a lot and gave me a lot of freedom. And I also really valued her artistry and her creative thoughts to where we listened to each other a lot. And it wasn't, sometimes there are production relationships where I'm 95% listening to the artist, and that's great because I want it to sound like them. And maybe some where it's more like the artist is 70% listening to me. This was very 50-50. And in a kind way, I think we really like pushed each other. She was always searching. I was always searching. But man, her voice, her songwriting. Like, if you haven't listened to Ellie Turner, you need to go listen. Listen to Daughter, listen to Linger, listen to Because of You, listen to Indiana. I mean, that's 4 of the 6. They're all amazing, but they just, there were even a couple tracks in there I'm like, man, I don't know if I love the way I recorded that acoustic guitar, but like the part and the vibe is so right, we couldn't touch it.
Yeah.
And half those songs, her vocals were the first or second take she did while we were just doing pre-production. And once we started to sing more and we were more in our heads about it, it didn't work. And she's such a vocalist that like it just came out, and it's really special stuff. And I hope she continues to put out music, and because she's just awesome. So go listen to Ellie Turner as well.
Yeah.
And
absolutely.
That's also very much in the folk Americana vein, both in terms of songwriting and just sonics that I really love working in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's great. Yeah. So I'm going to put under the episode a bunch of links to everyone basically that you've mentioned, to your stuff as well, so that anybody listening could easily just link on over to check everything out. I appreciate you coming on with me. Thank you for shooting the shit with me. Thank y'all for listening to us shoot the shit. My name is Betty Reed, my guest Evan Redwine, and we appreciate you so much, and thanks for shooting the shit.